Hey guys, welcome to the Fast Lane car. This is the 2019 Lexus LC 500H. And it is truly one of the best, most interesting, beautiful, most technologically advanced cars I have ever driven, period, and certainly this year. So let's go right into the design. Now, when you think about a Hot Wheels car, you think about crazy big wheels, swoops, curves, crazy angles. The LC 500H is the epitome of a concept car in real world form. And then you come to the headlights, and they're headlights unlike any other I've seen on any other modern car, because you of course have your main beams, which are full LED, and your high beams here. And then of course you also have your LED light signature, but they're not connected by a glass or plastic cover. You actually have a two-tone bodywork design here that separates the two. Then coming along the side, you have the luxury coupe profile, which is what LC stands for actually. And the one thing you notice before anything else are the wheels, which are two-tone wheels. They're 21 inches and they look straight off of a concept car. And then you get to the back and the tail lights, they don't even look like tail lights. They look like a video game hologram, because you've got these L's that actually project inwards into the body. It's like an actual computer screen for tail lights. What I love about the LC is that it really traces its spiritual roots back to something called the personal luxury coupe, which is an entire breed of automobile that ruled the roads here in America through the 60s and 70s. They were large, luxurious, comfortable, but unlike those old Lincolns and Cadillacs, this one will actually start in the winter. Now, to get into the LC 500, I have my key here, and when I push the unlock button, the door handle presents itself to me, and I even have this beautiful Lexus logo engraved into the side. So we should probably talk about the engine, because you're curious to see what's under the hood. And with design like this, you probably are thinking some fire-breathing monstrous V8. You can actually get a fire-breathing monstrous V8. It's a 5-liter, 471 horsepower, but this one has the smoother, quieter, more refined engine choice. A 3.5-liter V6 mated to Toyota's hybrid system. Now, what's so cool about this system is not the 354 total horsepower, but it's actually the transmission. Because I'm not nearly smart enough to understand how it works, but essentially it's a 4-speed automatic mated to an electronic, continuously variable transmission, and it simulates a 10-speed automatic. What I can say is that it works really pretty well, it's really pretty smooth, and it almost sounds like an F1 car when you drive down the road. If you expect the LC 500H to drive like a sports car, you're going to be a little disappointed, because when you floor it, it shifts a bunch, it makes kind of a cool noise, but you don't go anywhere all that quick. And I'm completely fine with that, because so often these Japanese brands chase the Germans on performance and Nürburgring time records, and I don't care about any of that, because I live in America and we drive straight to McDonald's, we turn around and we drive straight home, and the LC 500H is perfect for that. It just cruises. I mean, it's whisper quiet, and the ride is silky smooth, and the steering is super light in normal mode, and you just don't care, because this is how we use cars here. This is how we enjoy cars on little back roads like this. Now, if you want it to be sporty, you can dial it up a little bit, and yeah, it'll go, and it'll handle pretty darn well for the size of this car. It weighs 4,500 pounds, but you're not going to be carving canyons with this. So we talked about how the door handle gently presents itself to you, but of course you don't need the key to lock and unlock the Lexus. It of course has the proximity key. Now, the way it works is it's unlocked right now, and to lock it, I actually have to push in on the door handle, and then to unlock it, I simply push in on this little detent, and it presents itself to me like that. So you're probably wondering at this point, with those hideaway door handles, what happens if the battery dies? How do you get into the car? Well, of course they're Lexus, so they thought about it. Now, in the little fob, I actually push a little button on the side and the key pops out. It's all pretty standard stuff. So I've got this little mini key. And then what I have to do is I'd have to come up to the door here and open it up. And if you look behind the actual handle, there's a little itty bitty tiny keyway where I can put the key and just barely have access to turn it. So it works in an emergency if you need to unlock the car, and it's nicely hidden, so there's not some big ugly hole on the side or whatever. Well, now we get to look at some of the Lexus attention to detail, and you could do an entire video just on the little itty bitty things, but One classic case is right here. You've got these beautiful Torx bolts that run all the way down the side of the door, and you'll see they have the word Lexus engraved in them, just to let you know what you're driving. Along the side of the door here, it's beautifully sculpted, and unlike having your traditional lock and unlock plunger, there's actually just a little elegant light that turns green to let you know when the car is locked. Of course, you've got your grab handle down here to close the door. You've got this door handle that doesn't even have a bezel on it. It's so well integrated into the door. It looks like almost like a fine piece of art. You of course have your window controls and then your memory seats. Before you even get in the LC, you're greeted with high quality materials, and it just gets better from here. So this one has the Lexus Performance package on it, which gives you a carbon fiber roof and carbon fiber door sills along with Alcantara seats and the spoiler. But it's cool having this exposed carbon fiber greet you as you enter the LC. It's also very apparent on the roof. Even small things that you never think about, like the seat controls. Usually even on Lexuses or Mercedes or some kind of plastic, but not on this car. They're these really beautiful brushed aluminum pieces. So once you get past all the nice materials on the door and the side sill, it's time to slide into the LC. And remember how I said it looks like a concept car from the outside? Well, it looks like a concept car from the inside as well. Look how cohesive this design is. And they use so many different soft touch materials and unique metals. I mean, I don't know how they can afford to put this into production with all this stuff going on. For example, you've got this handle right here, which first of all, you could move the entire car with it, but they've incorporated this aluminum bit into the inside and down the side here. And the dash, there's these really high quality, almost glass-like finishes and leathers and different shades of leathers. It's really pretty brilliant. Being the ultimate Grand Tour, you'd expect the rear seats to be pretty usable because it's a huge car, but they're just the worst. So to get into the rear seats, first I have to undo this little seatbelt retaining strap, which is a pleasure because of these highly crafted magnets. But this is the only car I've ever seen that has, well, negative legroom. So my driver's seat is in my driving position, and it's actually pushing in on the rear bottom seat cushion. I've never ever seen this happen in any car. So to get into the rear seats, I have to pull this flap, and then you gotta wait, and you gotta keep waiting, and you gotta keep waiting, but eventually it stops not far back enough, and then you can kind of slide into this. This is kind of the part I'm concerned about. Now, if I go ahead and, is it just gonna keep going? Wow, that is not stopping. Oh, wow. Oh, so it's time to get creative, I think. There we go. Got to force it to stop. The rear seat headroom is also, what's another word for non-existent? I'm gonna go with non-existent. Like they're just, you can't use them. If you're not a kid under the age of 3, you can't use the rear seat. And somehow it's even worse. I don't know how it's even worse, but it's worse on the driver's side, because at least on the passenger side, the seat automatically moves forward. On the driver's side, it doesn't even do that. So look, ready? Nothing. And then you gotta move it forward, and it beeps. Why is it doing that? What's the point? So that's just a mess. There's a lot of high quality switch gear in the LC. Actually, there's nothing that I would consider low quality, but there's 3 buttons in this interior that feel, almost military quality. And that's the volume knob, the tune knob, and then the track/seat selector. Because the tune knob has these little grooves in it, which feel incredible, and the volume knob, I mean, I don't know how they got a piece of metal to be this smooth and this shiny and this high quality, but if I could have a ring made out of this volume knob, I would wear that all day, every day, because it's just the perfect material. Overall, I mean, the interior is Lexus quality, but it's now Ferrari design as well. It's beautifully designed, it's amazingly crafted, it's just perfect. It's just the best interior I think I've ever been in. Other things you notice driving the LC 500H, well, it's just a very quiet and kind of serene experience. Now, the infotainment system is a little bit clunky to use. It's the standard Lexus Inform system, but it'll do what you need it to do, and the instrument gauge will show you what you need to know. It's all a pretty decent electronics interface they have in the LC. Now the seats are especially comfortable. These have the Alcantara inserts, and well, they really hug your body pretty well. They're very soft. I don't know like how they can afford to put all this Alcantara on the interior of this car. You know, you go out and you buy an Aston Martin and it'll be 250 grand. It'll feel nice, but you're not sure you get the value. This car's 108 grand, and I still feel like there's more value in here than that 108 grand because everything is super well crafted. Like in the real world, I really don't think that a Rolls-Royce is going to be any more comfortable than this car, any more refined or any higher quality, because it just can't be. Like this is it, guys. This is as nice as I've ever seen any interior ever. To power up the Lexus here, I simply just tap the blue power button, and being a hybrid, it all silently comes to life, and it plays this really neat animation even that, you know, once again, looks like something straight out of Tron. I mean, this is such a departure from Lexus of old school where they used to be kind of stodgy and sedate. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, and we'll start with the vents, which are pretty bizarre. So you've got one vent here on the left for the driver, one in the middle, and then you have 3 on the passenger side. And these 2 are kind of positioned funny in that you don't have a lot of flexibility on where they can go. So if you want to be nice and cool, at least in the face, be sure you're a passenger in the LC 500H. So you're in the Lexus, it's gone through all its startup procedure. How do you get into drive? Well, it's a little different than your normal car. You've got what looks like a pretty traditional shifter, but it isn't. Because to get it into drive, you actually have to go left and down, reverse is left and up, and there's even a manual mode, which is straight down. One thing I will say, which is not brilliant, and I don't know if this is something you can turn off, but I really would like to, when you put it in reverse, it just constantly beeps. It's like it's a 1980s Mack truck. Like, I know I'm in reverse, the backup camera's on, it's backing up. I don't need you to beep at me, it's a hybrid. It's not a new thing. The other cool thing is the parking brake, which you'd have no idea was here unless you saw this video, because it's actually way down here integrated into the bottom of the dash. And once again, they could have given me a little, you know, plastic parking brake switch. No, they had to beautifully craft this nice little metal bit on the bottom of the switch for something that you will never ever see, never ever look at. Everything in this cockpit is angled toward this driver like in a fighter jet, but there's more fighter jet inspired stuff as well. For example, take the drive knob up here that lets you change between comfort, normal, sport, sport plus, and even your traction control knob on the upper left. Feels all very aircraft-like. The other thing that's aircraft-like is this center gauge. You've got a combination of mechanical and digital aspects. So you've got this mechanical ring, and then the inside is all digital, and it actually changes color and position of the tack depending on what gauge mode you're in. Other things you'll notice are the paddle shifters. Now, it's kind of funny having paddle shifters in a hybrid in the first place, but having paddle shifters in a 4-gear CVT hybrid is just confusing. However, they work like a standard 10-speed, so I can actually stick it into drive, then stick it into manual, and select my gear like I'd be able to in any other sports car. Okay, time for the usual. Tommy is a klutz and cannot not lose gas caps. Anyways, here's the test. Now, I am horrible at losing gas caps, and I hate when they flop around, so let's see what the situation is on the LC. Now, there's a button that I push to open the flap. Ooh, not looking so good so far. I do have a cap on a string. Hate that. But, actually, wow, that is the most over-engineered cap holder I think I've ever seen. So, it's an automatic pass here because I can easily put the cap in. But look how over-engineered that is. There's like teeth and prong and latches. I'm just looking for like a little hook, and they gave me the Enterprise. That's pretty nuts. Let's talk about the trunk on the LC because it's pretty small, if I'm being honest. Now, to get into the trunk from the outside, there's a little button here that's hidden into the tail lamp, and I push the button, and then it just pops open like that, and there's a high liftover height, and it's not very large. So I've got my tripod here, that fits, and I've got the camera bag, and that also fits, but if you're going for more than a couple days, I'm not entirely sure your luggage would. One thing I'm not a big fan of is this. The only part of this entire exterior design I don't like. So you've got this shiny chrome, which is nice. You see shiny chrome on cars all the time, and it's nicely done on this LC. But then you've got this shiny chrome that's like textured. It's almost like tinfoil. Like, I've never seen this before on any other car. The other thing it does, and it serves a rather distracting purpose, is when you're walking up to the car in bright sunlight and oh my god, just totally blinded by the shiny textured chrome on the back of the car. Close my eyes, it's fine. Get the trunk, then you can leave. We have several different cup holders in the LC. They're all hidden though, so you have to know where to find them. The first one is up here by the gear shifter, and it's round like a usual cup holder. Now I've got my cup. Shout out to Moe's Broadway's Bagel, by the way. They're not a sponsor, but they do good bagels, so maybe they should be. But I can simply put my cup in there and it works well. That's a fine cup holder, but you'll notice there's only one. So where's the other one? Because we're in America. We like to, drink our big gulps. Well, there's a second one actually hidden in this center console, which is great. The only issue with it is the only word for it is square. So yes, my Moe's Broadway Bagel cup fits in there, but it's not all that secure, if I'm being honest. Of course, this center console does open up further. Once you're in this open position, there's another little latch underneath, and it swings open toward the driver's side. This Lexus has one super old school feature. To get into the trunk, I push the trunk release button. But what if you give this car to a valet? Well, they thought about that. To get into the glove box, I push a button up here. It glides open, and there's actually a trunk opener cancel in there. So now I can't actually open it from the button. So what I'd do then, if I was giving it to a valet and I didn't want them to get into the trunk, I'd close this here, and then I take my key, and there's actually a little mini key that pops out, stick it in the hole, and turn it. So now the valet can't get into the trunk using the little button here. Pretty clever stuff. The Lexus LC starts at $92,000, and the LC 500H, the hybrid, starts at actually $96,000. So it's a little bit more expensive than the V8. This one, as you see, it's 108 grand because it's got that Lexus performance package, which gives you all the carbon fiber and the Alcantara on the interior. So 108 grand. It competes with vehicles like the BMW M850i, a lot of the larger Grand Tours, but it's easily the best looking in its class. I think it's probably the best made. It's going to be dead reliable. It's not all that great to drive from a performance standpoint, but guys, just look at it. I mean, that's worth 108 grand just to park in your garage and stare at. As always, I'm Tommy with TFL Car. Go back to tflcar.com for news, views, and real-world rear seat legroom reviews. This car's got none of it.